When you walk through a storm, it is Anfield Agenda time. Craig is set for the day and the news. Sit back and relax, grab a coffee and chill, and enjoy the shenanigans tonight. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch-alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch-alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda.
Good evening, my friends. You are very welcome along to Friday night's Late Night Agenda. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I've got some stuff I want to get off my chest tonight and tonight's stream, so I'm going to be talking about social media, and if you've got something to say, say it, basically. So we're going to be asking, where are we at with the Trent situation, the Salah situation? It seems that there is a fear amongst Liverpool fans at the minute that Trent has made up his mind to go to Real Madrid and that Liverpool won't be able to agree an extension with Mohamed Salah. And it's growing as each day goes by, and more vague statements and posts are coming out. And look, I'm going to be honest. For me, from the start of all of this and everything, people that I've spoken to, nobody, and I'm speaking about journalists, other fans, can substantiate any decision either way on any of the contracts, especially around Trent and Mohamed Salah. So I'm going to tonight give you what I know, what I think is going to happen, ask you, of course, for your input on it, but I'm also going to ask people to stop. Ask people to stop the vagueness. Ask people to stop pretending they have information. If you know something, please come out and say it, because all you're doing is stringing along your fellow Liverpool fans. And say what you want about me on here. I'm honest, I'm upfront, I say it as I find it, and I give you what I know. And if I don't know something, I'm not afraid to say it. So tonight, that's where we're going to go with this. We're going to speak about Ryan Gravenberch and his thoughts on his new role under Arne Slot. We're going to speak about Chiesa and will he be available for the weekend. We also got some news today that Wataru Endo is ill at the minute, so that's another concern. Obviously, Alexis McAllister, will talk about him and a potential setback there ahead of the Chelsea game. That and a few other bits and pieces. And of course, whatever else it is that you guys would like us to go through tonight, you know the score. Just let me know in the comments. So, I guess where to start with this one tonight? Well, Arne Slot on his press conference today has been speaking about a few different bits and pieces. And I'm going to start off, I think, by just giving you a bit of a recap on what it was that Arne said. Before I do, though, Steve Rolls, how are we, mate? Member with us for 14 months, sir. Thank you for, I don't know what 14 is, but 14 months, Steve. Thank you, bro. Said, up the Reds, Trent has to sign a new contract or I think he will not be regarded as a legend in the future. What's your view? So, do you know what? I'm actually happy. I can give you my opinion on this one, Steve, because this is just a straightforward, opinionated matter. So for me, if he did not sign a new contract and if he did leave, I wouldn't call him a club legend. And not because he left, because I just don't think he would fit into the pantheon of what I would call a legendary Liverpool player. Leaving at the peak of your powers, I would struggle to throw somebody into the legendary category at that point. But I also got to say, Steve, look, we don't know what's happening with Trent at the minute. But I've been honest about this, and I spoke about it yesterday. You know, whatever happens with Trent, he will have fulfilled his Liverpool contract. So, you know, I always say these things, as difficult as it is for players to leave on a free. When a player signs a contract, or when anybody signs a contract in their employment or in any walk of life, it's your duty to see out that contract at a bare minimum. And after that, of course, if there's extensions and whatnot, happy days. So he will have seen out his contract. Mohamed and Virgil, the same thing. But yeah, look, I wouldn't be putting him into the legendary category, walking away at the peak of your powers. It would certainly count against with me. Now, I would never be vitriolic against Trent in any way, shape or form. I respect whatever his decision is. I'd just like to know what that decision is as a Liverpool fan. And obviously, any of you who watched the video earlier on today that I did around evening time, I kind of intimated that my reading of what Arne Slot said about Conor Bradley made me feel a certain way. And I posed the question in the video, let me know how you guys feel about the comments from Arne Slot on Conor Bradley. Because I often read too much into things. I often look too deep for these things. But for me, it felt like his comments were leaning into the fact that he maybe sees Conor Bradley as the future at right back. Now, I guess I need to give you context on this. So let me go through and read out what Arne Slot said today on Conor Bradley. And then maybe you guys can let me know what you think of it. So he said he's got a bright future, a very good player. That is what we need here. He's done last season really well when he replaced Trent. Trent has played a lot, but Conor is a good player and normally they find their way into the team. I expect that in the future of this club. Now, in its own context, that's a nothing statement. It's just bigging up Conor Bradley, talking about his involvement with the first team and how he will probably be playing more in the future. But when you throw that into the context and the conversation around the uncertainty about contract renewals, well, look, I'm going to be honest, I start reading more into these things. So for me, I looked at that and my first instinct was, great, good to hear him speaking good about Conor Bradley. But secondly, my next thought was, is he planning now for life without Trent? Because, again, that's how I feel. And I got to just say, this is just my own gut feeling because I do not know. I reached out to David Lynch today. He doesn't know anything new. I reached out to some fellow fans. They don't know anything new. But there is a couple of people on social media who I think just need to be fairer in their posts. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Now, before I get stuck into this, I'm not in any way going in on these two particular people because I don't know them. I know one of them a little bit. But two posts today stood out for me on social media. And I'm going to read them out to you. The first post came from Asim, an account that many of you on X will probably be aware of, usually very good around team news and stuff like that. And he just posted one word, issues, full stop. So that was then followed up by another post from somebody else who, again, I would hold in high regard, Matt Thielen, formerly of LFC Transfer Room, or maybe he still is. And he said, I'll just say this, Trent is free to do whatever he wants. No hard feelings for me if he goes to Madrid. Look, that was followed up by somebody asking Asim, well, what do you mean? And he said, if you listen to the press conference today with Arne Slot, you'd know. If you guys have something to say on this, if you have information, stop teasing it. If you have something to say, come out and say it, because we'd all love to know it. We'd all love to understand where we're at with it. And this baiting and teasing, I don't find it helpful to anybody. Now, as I said, I don't know these gents. I'm not going into them in any way, shape or form. But if you have something to say it, is the long and short of all of this for me. If I come on here with news, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to give it to you bluntly. And then you can make up your own mind. But this teasing of issues, full stop, you know, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I don't think my fellow Liverpool fans like it either, because it's just looking for attention. And I get that's kind of the whole point of social media. But if you want to be regarded as somebody who has information, share it. Talk about it. Tell us what you've heard. Other words, it's just baiting, in my opinion. So that's all I have to say on that. But again, for me, again, reading it from the outside, and I don't know anything, I'm worried about Trent's situation because it feels like we get 3 shitty stories, one sort of positive story, but the positive story is more a case of there's a number. Now, if there is a number, and Liverpool haven't gotten to that number yet, and of course, we don't know, we've seen 280 grand a week thrown around, whereas maybe he'd want 3 to 350. If you're Liverpool Football Club, and again, this is a big what if you're Liverpool Football Club and you are nickel and diming over a number that would keep a local boy at the club, get your finger out, because it's your fault. And make no mistake about it, this is the club's fault. They've allowed this situation to develop. I have a lot of sympathy for Richard Hughes. I have a lot of sympathy for the situation he walked into. But I have absolutely zero sympathy with the other higher-ups at the club who've known about this situation, allowed it to develop, and maybe through arrogance, naivety, stupidity, or whatever reason, have allowed Trent's contract, Virgil's contract, and Mohamed Salah's contract to get to this point. We need a resolution. Fans need clarity. The coaching staff need clarity. We need to know what we're building towards. Because, and I'm going to say this again, if we find out that Trent Alexander-Arnold left over 20 or 30 grand, that John W. Henry, the cheap fucker that he is, doesn't pay him, then we're going to have issues in the fan base. We're going to have a lot of angry Liverpool fans wondering why we've left it this late, why we didn't match his ambitions either on the pitch, off the pitch, or financially, and what the fuck are we going to do moving forward? Because I've said this all along, I have no faith in these owners to replace superstars. I don't. I have faith in them going for the cheap route and hoping they can create some more, but I don't have faith in them bringing in what we need. And you cannot allow even one of these 3 lads to leave. It is pivotal. It is a really important time in our development as a club to make sure that we stay at the top end of that table. Not 4th, not 5th, not hovering around, but challenging for league titles and European Cups. That is your duty as owners of this football club. That is your duty of custodians of the most successful club in English football. Get the finger out and get some clarity on these goddamn contracts, because it is a fucking piss take. And it is a piss take. Skabibi said, bro, you're falling off. Is that what you've got to contribute to the channel, mate? Bro, you're falling off. That's the best we've got, is it? Bro is saying it as it is. So, again, mate, I didn't drag you into this conversation. I didn't come round to your house and bring you in. If you've got something to say, say it. If you don't have something to say, well, guess what I'm about to say next, mate? I'm trying to be polite tonight because I understand emotions are high around this, but I'm fed up of it. I'm fed up of the excuses for these tin pot cheap owners who just will not get the job done. They get us to a certain level, hover, fall down, make excuses, and here we are again. An embarrassment, a distraction, into a new campaign with a new manager. And September international break, October international break, November international break. All we're going to hear about is the contracts. All Arne Slot's going to be asked about is the contracts. And what are we doing? Who knows? Sitting on our fucking hands as a club. Not good enough. Get it done. Get clarity. Sorry, I have a few comments to get through here that people have posted up, so apologies, I'll get through them now. Right, Finty Tin. Finty said, and thank you, mate, for your membership as well, said, worrying times as a Red. It is worrying because it's uncertain. You know, we don't know how it pans out, and we don't. But it is worrying. And anybody who thinks it isn't a distraction either, I think are just being naive. Craig, can you recap what happened with Trent? I've barely started the stream, bro. So, you know, I'm only getting into it now, so there's not really much to recap. Stevie Boy, thank you, mate, said, Trent has won all the trophies there is to win with Liverpool. He goes to Madrid. I'd wish him all the best, but the owners have a lot to answer for. So, I don't know yet exactly how I'd feel, Stevie Boy, if he went to Madrid. I don't. You know, I'd be a liar if I said I wouldn't hold, at least in the beginning, some resentment. Because, I'm not going to lie, I think a little bit worse of him. But overall, over the course of time, when I calm down and I look at it, I would again probably come back to the biggest problem I have with all of this, and that is a feeling that the club weren't willing to match Trent's ambition. So that worries me, because he's not just anybody. He's the vice captain, local boy, coming into his prime. If he's looked around and doesn't like what he's seeing, doesn't like what the offer is on the table, doesn't like the direction the club is headed, that's worrying. That's worrying outside of just worrying about the Trent situation on its own. It's just worrying in general. And that's a big problem. I think there's been too much benefit of the doubt given to these owners, time and time again, by many people. And I don't know what it's going to take to wake up, because proper clubs, ran properly, don't let this shit happen. You don't get your 3 most important out of probably your 4 most important players get to this situation. And then what? Hope that you can convince them? And every day that goes by, every week that goes by, as I've said all along, it becomes more expensive and more difficult. And the leverage shifts more in favour of their agents and the players. And again, I've not found one person who's able to give me a genuine reason. Emotion aside, you have to see the logic for Trent to consider Real Madrid. 100% Caledonia. Look, I've said this all the way through this situation, my friend. Can I understand Trent looking at Madrid and thinking, yes. And I warned this months ago. And the reason is probably the same as many others. He won't have a what if. Trent won't have a what would it have felt like to win a league title. What would it have felt like to win a European Cup at Liverpool, because he's done it. And that makes it even more concerning for me, because if he hadn't done it and we were building towards winning it, you can probably make the argument to Trent a bit more to go, dude, you leave here and you see Liverpool win a league. That's going to be huge. You're going to miss that. But he's done it. So I understand where you're coming from. And look, of course I understand the lure of Real Madrid. Mbappe, Bellingham, Vinny Jr., Rodrigo, like the names just keep rolling off the tongue. The most successful club in European football history with European Cups. Of course, I understand the appeal. And that's never been the issue with me. I've just not understood why we've let this happen. You know? And again, afterwards, it's all very well and good Trent saying he doesn't want this to be played out in public. And that's understandable as well. But there's 2 sides to this coin. As I've said, if Trent doesn't want this to be played out in public because he has every thought in his head about staying at Liverpool Football Club and he just wants to extend, fine. But if Trent doesn't want this played out in public because he wants to just glide through a season or up until the January market, then start talking about Real Madrid, then we have an issue. So there's 2 sides to this coin. You can't just say nothing and then assume that saying nothing and seeing negative headlines written about it and not seeing the player coming out and saying one thing. People are going to get concerned. People are going to get concerned. They are. It's natural. It's normal. But what you don't realise is Trent hasn't won the league in front of fans. Yeah, I don't realise that, mate, because I'm a fucking idiot. I don't remember COVID. I don't remember Trent won it. Yeah, right. I don't realise Trent hasn't won the league in front of fans, SG, because I'm that stupid, mate. Weird. But I expected better than you of that, mate. Of course I realise that he hasn't won it in front of fans, mate. I lived through COVID the same as yourself, and it wasn't great. And yes, he hasn't won it in front of fans, but at least he still has that medal. He can look back at it, show his kids and grandkids and go, I won the league at Liverpool. That's the point I was trying to make. Unlikely to lose all 3, but if we did, we'd see a huge drop-off, said Ashley Dooley. Look, I think there's 0 chance we lose all 3, personally. You know, I think Virgil is nailed on to stay, based off everything. But the stories about PSG that came out today in Mo, they concern me, and I'll go on to speak about them in a while. But the Trent situation just hits differently, because it is supposed to mean more. Because remember, it was Trent who spoke about winning trophies at Liverpool meaning more than for some of those Manchester City players. Remember, his words, not mine, not yours. So yeah, it is important, and allowing the situation to get to this point just means all that's going to happen is this negativity, conjecture, guessing. It just needs to be dealt with, so Arne Slot can just put it to bed and move ahead. All Liverpool talk said Salah, I think, will be the only one who moves on. I mean, I've sort of prepared myself mentally for the Salah stuff moving on. But again, we just don't know, do we? You know, you can't let this go in through January. Because let's say, as an argument's sake, we don't get an extension for one of the lads. But we also don't hear that they're definitely going. So, in a hypothetical scenario here, Trent signs, Virgil signs, and we don't hear anything about Mohamed Salah's situation. You know that come February, March, business end of the season, where hopefully we're pushing at the top of the league table, hopefully we're deep in the Champions League, it's going to become an even bigger distraction because every day there'll be a story about where he's going to go, where he might go, how much he's going to be offered, and that is going to have an impact on morale, it's going to have an impact on the dressing room. It just is. There's no airy-fairy hoping for the best bullshit. It is going to have an impact, and it won't be the first time, it won't be the second time, and it probably won't be the third time that Mohamed Salah's contract renewals have caused Liverpool a big, big headache. We need to put a pin in this and we need to stop it. It needs to be sorted out quickly. And there is just no excuse for it dragging on this long for any of the players. Lucky Charm says, guys, the club are doing great. If it's a rumour, don't give it attention. Why shouldn't we give it attention? Because we could just wake up one day and here they're gone with no preparation. So I get where you're coming from, but I'm not in the giving the club the benefit of the doubt camp. Maybe others are, and I respect that. If you are an optimistic person on these contract situations, I sincerely wish I had your confidence. But I don't, unfortunately. Because if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it has feathers like a duck, it's likely going to be a duck. And I think the duck in this scenario is FSG being cheap. But you are right, on the pitch, brilliant. Great start to the campaign, new gaffer in. Again, wasn't backed enough in the market for my liking. And if you take in, let's say, the lack of backing for Slot in the market and then the lack of contract extensions, come on now. There can only be one logical conclusion to that, and that is that the owners are dragging their feet and once again penny pinching. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why. I'm open to it. I just can't see any other way. Craig, do you think FSG watch your channel? No idea. Never really sat down and gave it much thought. Yeah, I don't know. And do you know what? It's kind of irrelevant to me because I'm never expecting any welcome mat rolled out. My job here is to do my best for you guys, the people that are here with us, our community, and that's what I'm going to continue to try and do. But let's get into tonight's news because there's quite a bit to go through, and there is some potentially good news, not contract related, but there is some potentially good news around Mohamed Salah, and this came from the Daily Mirror. The Mirror said Liverpool have been given a huge boost with Mohamed Salah potentially not needed for Egypt during the next international break as they continue talks over extending his contract at Anfield. So I think this is basically looking at the AFCON qualification. I think Egypt are going to top that little mini group. Obviously, they had home and away games against Mauritania, I think it was, and won both of them. So it looks as if they might just allow them to get a breather during the November international break because they're qualified already through safely topping that group. So I hope that that's the case because that would certainly help us, you know, not having Mo travelling, going away, being able to get a bit of a rest during the November international break ahead of a really busy festive period. That would be good news for Arne Slot, and it would be good news for us fans as well. So fingers crossed that that is the case, and hopefully we can get some confirmation on that soon. I've already spoken about what Arne Slot said today about Conor Bradley. I'll go back through it really quickly though. I'm going to ask a question actually. I'm going to get a poll ready, and then I'm going to read out what he said, and then I'm going to pose a question to you. So 1 second. So bear with me while I just write this out, folks. Right, so I'm going to read out what he said about Conor Bradley, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So he said on Conor Bradley in his press conference today, this is what Arne Slot had to say. He's got a bright future, a very good player, and that's what we need here. He's done last season really well when he replaced Trent. Trent has played a lot, but Conor is a good player, and they normally find a way into the team. I expect that in the future of this club. So the question that I want to ask to you guys is, do you think Arne Slot is expecting Trent to leave with this comment, or is there nothing to it? So yes, if you think it is about maybe Trent leaving. No, if you think it's just a comment on Conor Bradley. Speaking about Virgil van Dijk, our captain, this is what Arne Slot had to say. He's been crucial for us. From what you guys see on the pitch, we all see how good he still is and how much he contributes to our offensive style. What you guys don't see, and I do, is how important he is in the sessions. He is loud, brings quality to it. What you see at the weekend, I see this in the week, and that is what you want to see. He is definitely our leader. Goes on to say, if you're not from Holland, it might be a surprise, but in Holland, the Dutch media is all about that, exaggerating. He said, I exaggerate a bit, but there is a chance to criticise. If there is a chance to criticise, Dutch people in general will find a way to do it. Virgil didn't deserve this, but it's no surprise. It's a surprise to hear criticism of Virgil because it's normal you have a few days off when possible. Some Dutch players didn't join because they were tired, so how can you criticise Van Dijk? And he's right, Virgil has come in for some really unfair criticism from the Dutch media, and I think they noticed when he wasn't there quite what they were missing, so hopefully they cut him a bit more slack. Speaking about Trent Alexander-Arnold, this is what Arne Slot had to say. Why? He played well at left back. I only saw the free kick. Good players will always find a way into the team if they have good teammates, which is why Trent has at England. If you play Finland and Greece with respect, these quality players will play well, although they lost to Greece. He's been very good for us until now. He has and still is important when attacking, and I like the way he's defended too. He's made he's made a step up in that perspective, but like the others, room for improvement, that is clear. I think he's done well for us this season and the national team too. 3 times from 4 man of the match. Let's hope he will be for us too. So again, some positive words on Trent. I'm going to move on to speak about Paris Saint-Germain and Mohamed Salah in a minute, but I just want to come in and check out some of your comments on the stuff from Arne Slot and the presser there. How are we going to replace Trent with these owners, said LFC? Well, look, I hope we don't have to, but I don't know, mate. Conor Bradley, Frimpong, other options that maybe we haven't thought about yet, but again, this is what I keep saying. A little bit of clarity would be nice. Speaking actually as well about the injury to Alisson Becker, Arne Slot was saying that they're going to basically do a deep dive and try and find out why these injuries are happening, what's causing them. He spoke about the fact that Feyenoord had a goalkeeper as well that often picked up muscle injuries, and I think he underplayed that, because if you go and look at Bigelow's injury record at Feyenoord, it was really bad. One of the worst I've seen for a keeper, to be honest with you. So it looks as if the club are going to do a bit of a deep dive into that to really try to get to the bottom of these issues with Alisson Becker on his hamstring. So fingers crossed the medical team can come up with something there. Expect him to leave with no crying from the fan base, just a thanks and see ya, said the chosen one. I mean, that's extremely naive. If Trent leaves, I'm not expecting, nor would I want anybody to have a go at him, but you can bet your ass that the club's owners are going to come in for it, and rightly so, if Trent walks on a free. There is no polishing that turd if that happens. Nadmedello, excuse me, mate. I'm so sorry about the pronunciation. What will wake these owners up is when Liverpool are top of the table in January. Then they'll realise how serious it is for them to extend their contracts. January time is late though, because at that point Trent is able to talk to Madrid. Mo would be able to talk to clubs outside the Premier League. So that's why everybody said you don't want this rumbling into the winter window, because that's when you lose even more leverage in this negotiation. Jonathan said, Mo's been great but has lost a yard. Doak will win the Ballon d'Or one day. Look, I agree with Mo losing a yard, but I do think he's gained other attributes that have stood him in good stead as he's gotten a little bit older and his understanding of the game has increased. And, you know, I think his range of passing has improved, although in recent times, I do have to say there's been a little bit of anger in some of his passing in the final third. But more often than not, I've liked the adjustments he's made as he's gotten older. PSG is not best for Trent. Nobody's that I've seen suggesting PSG for Trent. PSG is Mo. Nobody's talking about PSG for Trent that I've seen. So, LFC 8092 said, these owners will never learn anything. You see, that's the thing. They do know. Like, this isn't like a mistake when they've just gone, oh, whoopsies. They know. This is no accident that we're here. That's again what I would say is, we're constantly told how clever they are. This isn't an accident. They've known this situation has come. They must have known because every podcast, fan channel, Liverpool fan on social media has been banging on about this situation for at least a year. So I think they definitely know about it. I just don't think they give a fuck, personally, about whether we lose Trent or not. You know, I just don't. Because for me, I've never seen that appetite for winning from FSG. I just haven't. You know, they've never really cemented our place when we've won stuff. They've never really continuously backed the owner. They've got a group of players. They've wrung every little ounce of energy out of them over the course of 5, 6, 7 years. Allowed a lot of them to leave for free. Have replaced some of them. You know, Alexis McAllister, Ryan Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai, all very good signings. But there's still some fragility in that squad. And especially when you come to squad depth. There's definitely some areas that we can improve there. Right, so on a little bit to Paris Saint-Germain and Mohamed Salah. And remember, this is a flirting that has gone back quite a while. So it's no surprise what I'm about to read out. But so reports today, according to Le Parisien, said that Luis Enrique has reportedly signed a contract extension with Paris Saint-Germain and has made it clear to the club that bringing in Mohamed Salah is his top priority. Since losing Kylian Mbappe in the summer to Real Madrid, his side have been lacking in goal threats, and Salah, who has scored 217 times in 359 games, would certainly solve the issue. Remember that photo of the PSG president and Mohamed Salah, I think it was the Brentford game maybe, or the Bournemouth game, sitting together having lunch maybe 2-3 years ago now. And remember, there was a lot of us fairly pissed off about that. And people said, no, they're just friends, Craig. This is just a friendship. Yeah, I've said this. This is the only European club that actually would concern me about Mo, because they have a never-ending pot of money to be able to put on the table for Mo, and then facilitate that move to Saudi in a few years' time, if he so wishes. This concerns me, because they do need to bring in a talisman after losing Mbappe. There's no doubt about that. They do have the funds to make it appealing to Mo to go there. There is that relationship and friendship and respect between the Paris Saint-Germain president and Mohamed Salah and his camp. It's concerning. And look, I've never been overly optimistic that Mo stays. I've always been honest and said I think that's the most difficult of the three to get done. And I think that's the perceived wisdom by a lot of people as well. Concerning. And you put that in with the story the other day as well from, who was it, that Team Talk the other day, that said Liverpool expect that they'll be able to keep Trent and Virgil, but they feel like they're losing Mo and Mo's going to go elsewhere. But all of this becomes really frustrating, because a lot of us also feel that Mo has a little bit of unfinished business here at Liverpool. He's a few records left, chasing down Ian Rush. A bit more of a legacy to cement. And it feels like he wants to be here. It feels like he's enjoying his football here. But again, I've always been honest and said my own personal concern here, and it's an understandable concern for Michael Edwards, by the way. Let me say that. It's understandable. Is that Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes have to make that decision of, do they see over the next 2.5 years a perceived drop-off or potential drop-off in output, in fitness levels or availability of players like Mohamed Salah and Virgil who are getting into the latter part of their careers. That's understandable. It is understandable. But again, I would say, as fans, we just love some clarity. So we all have an idea of what's happening, what to expect, what we need. And also, you know, to enjoy these times as well. Like, if we know Mo's leaving at the end of the season, well, let's give him a good send-off. Let's enjoy what we're seeing. Let's enjoy what we have left with the great man. So, yeah, I'm just... as each week goes by, I'm just getting more and more frustrated by it, to be honest. BK Karma said, PSG, free money, but if I was Trent, I wouldn't. It won't be the best. He is close. Look, I hope Trent stays at Liverpool. I do. Every day I get up and I hope to see that post on Sky or on the Echo or the Athletic, or to see David Lynch posting about it on his Substack or whatever. But, you know, you do have to wonder what's taken so long. You know, let's look at it from this side for a while. If we think that the club are at least trying to do something here, why is it taking so long for this breakthrough? Why have we not even heard about one of these deals? Surely those of you who are optimistic on it must understand some concern people have at a lack of not even one of these being done. And we've been talking about this from the summer now, and here we are in the second half of October. Not one contract extension of the main three. Yes, we've got the great deal for Trey Neone. Yes, a great deal for Jarell Kwanzaa that was announced, and it looks like Ibu will be soon as well. We're all very grateful for all of those. But, you know, these are the spine of our team right now. Salah not going anywhere. Again, I hope you're right. I think you're wrong. But, again, we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we? There's no urgency from the owner, said Marco, to get these contracts sorted. It's embarrassing. That's all I'm going to keep saying, mate. It's embarrassing that we're in this position. It's not one player either. And we haven't learned from the situation with Firmino or anybody before where they were allowed to just waltz off for free. Here we are again. 3 huge players in the squad. And we only have real optimism over one. Some of us 50-50 over Trent. And I'm probably 70-30 in favour that Mo leaves at this point. Because I just don't see any shoots of positivity around the Salah stuff. I don't see it anywhere. And I wish I did. Donald said, has he said he wanted to stay? Well, he has said he wants to captain the club. You know, he said that. And to do that, you would imagine he'd have to stick around, right? So, and there's other stories, and these are just stories and conjecture, to say that the club offered him 280, he wanted 300, and that there's an impasse. Well, if you're that close, even I, as critical as I am of the owners, don't feel like they're going to not make the final push for 20 grand. It would just seem stupidity of the highest order from all sides. I've also felt, though, that there's probably 2 different numbers in this. There's a number for Madrid and there's a number for Liverpool, and I feel like our number is going to be higher than Madrid's number. And again, you've heard Trent speak about legacy, speak about not wanting to just have won trophies in the early part of his career, to win them throughout his career and to be constantly challenging for them. Again, I understand that ambition. My concern would be, again, if he isn't seeing the club matching that ambition, is that what happened with Jurgen? Is that what happened with Genie? Is that what these are concerns I think it's understandable for us to have, because football can be a grubby business, and it isn't always sunshine, lollipops and skittles. Sometimes there's a bit of skullduggery going on. Jobo said, one explanation could be we're being kept in suspense so the club doesn't have to spend on new transfers and they'll make a huge deal out of renewing our players instead. Yeah, I've certainly seen that mentioned previously, and it's entirely possible. But we still have gaps in the squad that I think most of us feel, even with these extensions, we'd need to see them addressed. Ashley, I'm not sure if I'd read this one out, my man, so I'm going to bring it up again just to say thank you. Ashley Dooley said, unlikely to lose all 3, But if we did, we'd see a huge drop-off. We definitely would, mate. But we're not going to lose all three. Even me in my pessimistic phase doesn't feel that way. V. Aaron, thank you, mate, for your super chat. Said, hey, Craig, how's your day been? It's been good. Yeah, it's been good, mate. Stressful, because I've been trying to find out more on the Trent and Mohamed Salah stuff, but good nonetheless. Hypothetically, if Trent doesn't renew, who should we get to replace him? He thinks Frimpong. So, I guess the question would be again, Frimpong isn't really a right back. Frimpong is a right wing back or a right winger, in my opinion. So I don't think Frimpong. Bradley, of course, I think Bradley could make the step up, but we're still going to need another option at right back. And do you know what I don't want to hear, by the way? And not from fans, I mean, in general. I don't want to hear that Joe Gomez can cover at right back as well, because if we're to listen to every player that Liverpool lose or don't sign up, Joe Gomez is apparently able to cover, so we don't need to bring anyone. If we listened to some of this crap, Joe Gomez would be playing 10 of the 11 positions. So I don't know, is the honest answer, because I never really thought we'd get to the point where the club may really lose Trent. I just refuse to even acknowledge that they'd be that stupid. Guillermo said, Trent will sign. A lot of people optimistic on Twitter. Reliable. So, again, bro, happy to hear that. But we'd love to know who they are and what they're saying. And then we can all maybe feel a little bit more optimistic. But I'm not seeing any of the big accounts. I'm not seeing any journalists that I'm aware of. And I've spoke or not spoke. We've exchanged messages with David Lynch today. Nothing new from him. So, yeah, I'm all for a bit of positivity. I just need to know who it is and what they're saying, because this vagueness really pisses me off. A lot of people going, oh, worrying, or, you know, if you've got something to say, say it, you know, or shut the fuck up if you don't know anything. Stop pretending you do. I'll come on here and tell you I don't know anything if I don't know anything, because a lot of the time I won't know anything. I'm not a journalist. I'm a fan. Adam said, Craig, mate, can't wait to be celebrating the Premier League 24-25 with you and the Anfield Agenda family. Oh, dude, I hope that's the case. Oh, I tell you what, I'd love a big celebratory stream and party if Liverpool were to win the Premier League this year. I've seen Haaland and his missus are expecting their first child as well, so, you know, maybe a few sleepless nights for Haaland will stop him bagging some goals. I don't know, but congratulations nonetheless. Graham, Dave. So Dave said fuck all, other than vague optimism. And I was reading that article just yesterday. So Dave O.C. Kopp has said absolutely nothing other than positive vibes. No actual information. So we can knock that one off. Graham, I think we're probably talking about Graham Bailey there, which is in regards to the Team Talk piece, I think. Or was it TBR Sports? One of those two. That said that they expect to lose Mohamed but keep Virgil and Trent. Now, with all due respect, we've got these guys, or the guy that we speak to twice a week that used to work for the club. That used to work for the club's media department. I'm knowing which one of those two's opinion I trust, and it's certainly Mr. David Lynch, who just doesn't know. You know, he's not saying yay, he's not saying nay, just no. He does say that the club certainly don't feel like Trent has given any indication that it's a done deal and he's not signing a new deal, or it's a done deal and he's definitely staying. Truly, it does seem to be up in the air from my understanding of it. That's why I'm urging any of these people who are professing to have information either way to just speak up and tell people what you know. Aaron Picard, how are you, bro? Said, hey Craig, love what you do. Thank you. Keeps me connected from the US. Do you think FSG is waiting on Salah, hoping Nunez step up? So honestly, I've always been a bit pessimistic on the Salah stuff because of Michael Edwards and the way we know historically he doesn't like really to give longer term contracts to players who are in their mid to middle 30s. You know, I think Virgil van Dijk's a bit of a unicorn in that regard, Dave, because he's he's not shown any signs whatsoever of slowing down, getting worse. In fact, I think he's probably gotten better than last season, where he said he was still getting to grips with his own body, and it took him a while to come back from that ACL and get back up to peak Virgil van Dijk. But statistically and with the eye test, he's been really good over the last year and a half or so. So, you know, he doesn't rely on pace as much either, although he has it. He's very dominant aerially. His reading of the game and his commanding of the back line, you know, they're all things that you would imagine a centre-half can carry into 34, 35, 36. And there's a big enough sample size of centre-backs going on and doing that as well. It's with forward players and the explosiveness that they need. Sometimes you see that natural drop-off. So that's why I've always been a bit more sceptical about Edwards thinking it's worth putting money into the Mohamed Salah extension. Truthfully, like Elon Musk, he's a legend. He's a fucking dope, is what he is. Sorry. I mean, you're entitled to give your opinion, and, you know, I'm not going to remove your comment or anything, but, yeah, I mean, certainly wouldn't be putting Elon Musk and some stuff he's done with, like, Tesla and stuff like that and SpaceX. Of course, it's extremely impressive. But some of the other crap he's doing is just weird. But, anyway, you're entitled to your opinion as well. Right, so let's check the poll, which is pretty close. So do you think Slot is expecting Trent to leave? So far, 47% are saying yes, they do think that Slot's expecting him to leave. And slightly more, 53% are saying no, Arne Slot doesn't expect that Trent will leave. We'll leave that running till we get up to 1,000 votes, and then we'll check in for the final results. A little bit on Chiesa, actually. Anything Liverpool, quoting Paul Gorst on this one. So, sorry, back to this comment. Free speech, fine. You see, free speech is a thing, but it still has consequences. So you are free to say whatever you want, but you still have to take the consequences of the words that come out of your mouth. Now, you like an Elon Musk. No problem with that, mate. That's your opinion. I can see why you'd like him. I personally admire some of the stuff he does, but I think he's wacko in some other stuff. But I'm not going to throw you out over that, dude. That's your opinion, and you're absolutely fine to have it. Anyway, back to Federico Chiesa. Federico Chiesa appeared to miss the session too, as he continues to work towards his own comeback, having missed the trip to Palace and Champions League victory, a home to Bologna on October the 2nd. Hopefully, he is available, at least for the game against Leipzig. I think when we spoke with David on... Actually, it was yesterday, wasn't it? We spoke with David yesterday. I think everybody assumed that because, you know, he just missed the Palace game, that he'd be ready to go and available for this one. But it looks like himself and Alexis McAllister were doing gym sessions today away from the main group. Again, Paul Gorst of the Echo said, Alexis McAllister and Costas, fitness doubts for Liverpool's visit from Chelsea on Sunday after both missed full training at the AXA Centre today. Still time, you know, there's still tomorrow, so maybe they train fully tomorrow and then of course the game on Sunday, but it would certainly be frustrating if we lost Alexis McAllister, because we've seen him go away on international duty, and fair play to Scaloni, he did not use him in the first game. He did play, I think, 70-75 minutes in the second game, but if he's now a fitness doubt, it means obviously he's feeling something, and you know, you would then ask again about the toll that these international games are taking on Alexis, because he seems to be suffering quite a bit with fatigue and stuff like that because of the sheer volume of football and the intensity of the way he plays in midfield. Lorcan, how are you, mate? Do you think that if Trent was to leave, Conor Bradley would be our new number one right back? Yes. But I'm going to be honest about it. There'd be a drop-off there for a bit. I think that's natural because Conor Bradley isn't as developed as Trent at this point, nor should he be. He's a younger fella. But yeah, I would expect Conor Bradley to be put into that position. But I would also say to people, if that does come about, have a bit of understanding. Like, he isn't Trent and he isn't in his prime. He's still learning the game and still learning under Arne Slot. So I would say, yeah, definitely expect Bradley would step up, but I would say don't be expecting Conor Bradley to do Trent Alexander-Arnold things, because he's a different type of fullback. What's my thoughts on the Florian Wirtz links? I think that there is more chance of me showing up looking like Brian May with a full head of curly hair than there is of John W. Henry signing Florian Wirtz. I've seen links to Barcelona, I think. I've seen links to, certainly to Manchester City. And I've seen links to, obviously, Bayern Munich. I do think there will be a bit of an exodus away from Leverkusen this summer because it doesn't look like they're going to repeat the heroics of last year. And my God, what a season that was for them. And I think Alonso will probably depart as well to Real Madrid at the end of the season. So, yeah, I don't think we'll sign Florian Wirtz, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to. Then do we get a backup to Bradley in that situation? Yeah, I hope so, Jacob. And I would look for somebody, as weird as this is going to sound, I would look to bring in somebody older than Conor Bradley as the backup. Somebody a bit more experienced there to give us a bit of balance in the squad, as well as, obviously, covering for Conor Bradley. Bradley is a mini Robbo. Yes, I like that, Carl. I think I can get on board with you on that one, bro. I think that's a good assessment. So, Ryan Gravenberch. And then we're going to move on to a conversation around stadium atmospheres and a ranking from one of the lads off TalkSport on their ranking of Premier League grounds. I'm going to read that out to you and see what you think in a minute. But for now, okay, B Karma, I'm trying here, bro, to keep you hanging on in, but you're not making it fucking easy for me. Yeah, well, somebody else is removed from there, so there you go. Anyway, so Gravenberch, on his new role, this is what Ryan had to say. It feels good, but to be honest, I have to adapt more because I'm not like a naturally defending number 6. He goes on to say, first, at the start of his career, I was like an attacking midfielder, so for myself, I have to adapt more. I think the first games were really good, but I have to keep improving. We have a lot of possession, and I have a lot of ball, and that is what I wanted, so it feels good, it feels comfortable. Mark, let me get your comment up. Mark said, take each day as it comes once contracts are signed. If yes, but I don't have the optimism, Mark, that all three will get done, mate. That's, look, I'm aware I can be a pessimistic person, by the way. So I've no problem with anybody saying I'm perhaps being a bit negative. That's fair. No problem with that. But I would also like to... Yeah, the dog has been barking, Kyle. I'm aware, mate. Again. But I don't know... I just don't have the optimism. If somebody gave me reasons to be optimistic, like somebody in the chat said, Craig, I think they're going to be done because of X, Y, and Z. Again, I'd understand that, but I just don't have that optimism, mate, at the minute, because I don't see... Outside of Virgil, and there seems to be a lot of optimism around the Virgil stuff, I don't know. Guillermo said, Craig, you're right. People at the club need to step up now. It's madness to me, that we're in this position. Like, the fairest I can be about this is to say, if this was at United or Arsenal, I'd be pissing myself laughing at it. I would. I'd be sitting here going, something's going wrong there at that club. 3 of their big important players, and they've not extended any of them yet, and we're into the last year of their contracts. I would. I'd be sitting back and I'd be going, problems there. And I would suggest you guys may as well. If we were looking at this and it was Arsenal or Chelsea or United, I think we probably would have a little chuckle about it. Unless it's somebody like Marcus Rashford, who probably did not deserve a bumper contract extension, and fair play to his agent for getting it for him, but these players are all performing. It's not like Trent, Virgil and Mo are out there stinking the gaff up every week. They're not. They're doing really well. Zevon said, any news on Elliot? Just that he's in the gym and he's working his way back, but the expectation is, I think the Athletic said, expect the latter part of October maybe for Harvey Elliott to start getting into the matchday squads. So that's all we know at the minute, mate. But look, it'll be great to have him back. It's another option there, obviously, for Arne Slot. Rachel said, if you want dogs barking, I got 5 dogs barking in the back garden. I don't want dogs barking very much. It's just that my missus wasn't here. She was dropping my daughter down to the pub. So, yeah, the dog was in the kitchen. And if he hears a cat or something in the back garden, you know, it's barking time. Johnny said, bit off topic, Craig, but anything about Mac not spotted in training? I was saying earlier on, the understanding is that he was doing gym work inside on his own. Well, not on his own, away from the main group. And I don't know if that's a specialised fitness plan maybe he has as part of his recovery from the international break or not. But there are a couple of suggestions that he might be a doubt for the weekend. Now, I very much hope he isn't, because, you know, we all know how good Alexis McAllister is. So I guess we'll probably get a better insight tomorrow if he's pictured in the training images and stuff then. Lorcan said, do you think that if Jude Bellingham came to Liverpool and we were in the same position as we are now, do you think with Trent and Real Madrid would be less of a worry? Yes, I definitely feel like there'd be less of a worry. Right, I want to go into this Premier League grounds ranked and see what you guys think about it, because I think this list is bait, basically. I don't believe that this is a genuine, honest list from one of the presenters at TalkSport, and I don't know who this lad is. I don't know him, but here's his list. So, number 1, the best Premier League ground ranked for this guy was Aston Villa. Villa Park they have in at number 1. Number 2, St James's Park, Newcastle. So, look, both great stadiums. No issues with that whatsoever. You know, having them up at the top end of that list, I think that's fair enough. Next up, Fulham, Craven Cottage, number 3. Really? Next up, number 4, Nottingham Forest, the City Ground. Then Brentford's G-Tech Stadium is number 5. You can fuck right off with that, firstly. 1, it's a small ground, so I very much doubt that. And I've gone past this ground, I've seen this ground. It's not impressive. It's not loud. I don't get how he's managed to shoehorn Brentford in at number 5 on the list, but no. Next up, number 6, Spurs Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, perhaps he's confusing the booing and the anger about lack of defensiveness with excitement. I don't know, but it is a great stadium. So if we're ranking stadiums on the actual stadium, well, that's number 1. Let's be honest, it is. It's a great stadium. But if we're ranking it for all things in, atmosphere and stuff, I mean, 6th. Arsenal, 7th. And you'll notice I haven't read out Liverpool yet. And that's what I'm talking about. This is the bullshit bait that is absolutely is, in my opinion. So Arsenal, number 7 on the list of the Emirates. Then comes Anfield, number 8. So we as Liverpool fans are supposed to believe that Anfield ranks behind Villa Park and James's Park. Okay, that I'll give you, the 2 great stadiums. Fulham, the City Ground, the G-Tech, and Spurs and Arsenal's gaff. I'm supposed to believe that our atmosphere and our stadiums are worse than all of those. I would certainly say you've got Liverpool too low on that list. Next up, Leicester City, King Power Stadium. The fans that were given the clappy devices, do you remember them? The clappy stuff to try and make the atmosphere. They're in at number 9. Then at number 10 comes Old Trafford. And I would say, if we're talking atmosphere, when Old Trafford's on it, it should be higher up that list. If we're talking about facilities, it's too high. If you're talking about the quality of cooked chicken, it's still too high as well. Next up, Ipswich, Portman Road, number 11. Number 12, Goodison Park. Now, again, if we're talking atmospheres, Goodison Park can be a bear pit when they're at it. When the Evertonians are up for it, it can be loud. It can be intimidating. The pitch is right in on top of the stands as well. Like, it's a tight ground. So, again, I'm baffled at some of these. Number 13, the Amex. Number 14, Stamford Bridge. And look, just for balance and to be fair, yeah, you're right. They deserve to be in and around 14th. So, no arguments with that one. 15th, Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace. I think that should be higher. Crystal Palace have a very good singing and noisy section, and I think Selhurst Park should be a little bit higher up on that list. At number 16, the Vitality, Bournemouth Stadium. Number 17, Southampton, St Mary's. Number 18, the Etihad. Okay. I'll give you 18 as well then. I'll give you that one. Number 19, Molineux, Wolves ground. And bottom, with the worst atmosphere, or just the worst ranking of a ground, is the London Stadium, West Ham's ground. That, according to this TalkSport presenter, is the worst ground in the Premier League. Again, that to me is bait. They're baiting the bigger clubs fans in there. They're baiting Liverpool. They're baiting United, and they want a reaction. So that's my thoughts on that ranking of grounds. But interested to know who you think maybe should have been higher, who you think should have been lower on that one. Certainly 8th for us, I think, is a bit of a piss take. TalkSport ranked the London Stadium as the lowest of all 92 clubs. Here. Now look, that's... I know that even West Ham fans will say there have been issues about that connection between the fans and the pitch, and I know that West Ham have taken steps to try and improve that. But wow, like that low, 20th and 92nd of all the 92, as you've said, that's bait. I'm sorry, that's bait. I'm not having that West Ham is the worst atmosphere of the 92 league football clubs. That's got to be bullshit. 20,000 seater stadium having more atmosphere than the stadium of treble winning club is crazy, said Toes. Yeah, look, I just don't agree with a lot of that list. Villa Park and St James's Park, yes, they've got great atmospheres, great storied stadiums, great fan bases, no issues with them being up near the top of their table. The Emirates, that can get quite loud as well at times. Let's give Arsenal fans their credit on that one. But some of those decisions are just weird. The Facebook Network said, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the sound of those results over the sound of how massive we are. You're not alone. You know, that's often the case, mate. WFM and all that. Right, let's go to this poll. So we've got 850 votes up on the poll now, and we said, do you think that Arne Slot is expecting Trent to leave? Based off the comments as well about Conor Bradley and Conor stepping up in the future. 53% of you guys say no, and 47% say yes. So close, but a slightly more positive outlook from you guys around Arne Slot's thoughts about Trent in the future. You think that he's going to be planning for life with Trent. David said, Craven Cottage and the G-Tech is lunacy. Both those grounds are filled with tourists because their fan base is too small to fill the stadium. So, the G-Tech, as I've said, I've gone past quite a few times. There is nothing impressive about it. There is nothing noisy about it when I've watched it on the telly. I don't get that one. Good club. Done great stuff, Brentford. You know, give them their credit. They've established themselves as a Premier League club, and absolutely they deserve credit for that. But nah, I'm not having that in the stadium. And the other one that you've said, Craven Cottage, I don't think of Craven Cottage being anything other than a rip-off at this point because of the price of some of those tickets in that new shiny stand of theirs. So I don't get that either. Irfan said, hello Craig, I just saw you on Luke's video. Yeah, I mean, I got my ass handed to me because obviously, you know, he's very, very knowledgeable on his football stuff. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed going on with Luke Pingu, and thank you, Luke, for inviting me on as well. It was good fun. Really appreciated the warm welcome over there as well. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was all right first when we drew, but then I got my ass handed to me, Irfan, as I'm sure you've probably seen, bro. Kyle said, I believe Slot's position is that every player should be ready to come fighting for spots in the starting 11. Looking too deep into to assume he thinks Trent is leaving. Look, I'm open to that, mate, as I've said. You know, I am at a point now where I'm probably overly sensitive to any comment around Trent's future or the right back situation or Salah's future. So look, I'm open to the idea that maybe I am looking too deep into it. But when you then add into that the posts then from some of the Liverpool accounts on social media, like Asim just says issues, full stop. And then after that, Matt Thielen saying, I'll just say this, Trent is free to do whatever he wants. No hard feelings from me if he goes to Madrid. Now, why do you think those posts were put up? You're not going to be talking about no hard feelings if he goes to Madrid if you're really convinced he's not going to Madrid. So, again, for me, it's a case of I'd like these guys, and I respect Matt. You know, I don't know Wasim, but I certainly respect Matt. And just say it. If you believe he's going, or you have information to think that he's leaning that way, these vague posts I just don't think helps anybody. Just have your say, and if you know something, share it. You know, because we'd all love to debate it. We'd all love to have these conversations. And you know, even when Connor sent them to me, he said, "Make of these what you will," because that's it. It is just it's nothing. It's like teasing without the information. Best stadium for a Scouser to watch lads away from Anfield. Do you know what, mate? I wish I had the pleasure of having gone to a few, but I've never been to an away league game. I'd love to go to St James's Park, other than one thing. I've heard from people who go there that the away section is right up a fuckload of steps and right up in the very the gods of the stadium. But I'd love to see Villa Park at some point. You know, a great historical stadium and football club. I don't know. I'm sure there are people in our chat who've attended a few away days who can probably give you their thoughts on, you know, these stadiums as a travelling red. Alex said Arsenal have the expensive tickets around. I think a lot of the London clubs may have expensive tickets because, of course, the cost of everything in London is higher. Living, building, I'm sure, employing people, it probably. So yeah, usually London tickets to those clubs would come at a premium. Kyle said, I think Fulham would be best to watch the Reds away, purely from watching on TV. Look, Fulham's in a nice spot, right by the river like that as well. But for me, I'd like to go to maybe Villa Park for an away game. I've been to Old Trafford, but not for a Liverpool game. Nothing impressed me about it, to be honest. So yeah, for me, Villa Park would be where I'd like to go, or St James's Park. Stephen said, I was in the Stretford end when Devil did that celebration. I was the opposite end to the Stretford end once. I went over on a day trip, probably 20-something years ago, for a League Cup game with my family and mates who, a lot of them were United fans, and it was basically a piss-up. And I wasn't impressed with it. Bobby said, I really don't see Trent leaving, as that would be a catastrophic mistake. I hope he feels that way, Bobby. And look, if this was any other club in the world, I'd probably say I don't see it happening. But it isn't any other club. And that's what has me worried right now. It's the reigning European champions who have a sniff of getting them on a free, who have already got Jude Bellingham there and Kylian Mbappe there, who have a shiny, revitalised Santiago Bernabeu. You can understand the appeal to anybody, even if you are a born and bred Scouser. You know, it has to be flattering when Real Madrid come knocking on the door. I think we have to accept that. But my question is, again, the same thing. Why are these things dragging out? Why are they taking so long? It just worries me, man. The longer it goes on, the more concerned I get. Because the longer it goes on, the closer we're getting to that January time where they can start to talk freely or sign pre-contracts. What do you think about Loic Balde? I don't know much about him, Triller X. Even speaking with David Lynch yesterday on the video, I asked him, had he anything on Loic Balde being linked to Liverpool, and he said no, pretty much. Didn't really know much about the player and hadn't really heard anything. Now look, that doesn't mean maybe we aren't keeping tabs on him, but he's not a name that seemingly is nailed on as somebody we're looking at to David anyway. They ranked all 20 stadiums, but only one has 6 European Cups. Yes, Wayne. Well played, sir. Well played. You are right, yeah. You won't find one of those at the Emirates. You won't find more than 3 of them at Old Trafford, which is still impressive, but it's not quite 6, is it? It's not quite 6, Wayne. Alex, I'd love to go to Newcastle, top end, be some sight. Yeah, but like me, going up them steps, bro, you know, I'd probably have to start about 2 hours before kick-off, have about 4 stops on the way up, 2 bottles of water, the inhaler out as well. So yeah, I'd like to see it, but I wouldn't enjoy that walk up. Danny said, came in late, any chance of a recap? Absolutely, Danny. No problem, mate. Let me go through it for you. So, we started off with, well, actually, a little bit of good news. Potentially good news. The Daily Mirror said, Liverpool have been given a huge boost with Mohamed Salah potentially not needed for Egypt during the next international break, as they continue talks over extending his contract. So, what I believe this is that Egypt are already top and qualified in their African Cup of Nations qualification, and they probably don't need to drag Mo over there for the last 2 games. So I've not seen a confirmation on this yet, but if there's even a conversation around it not happening, brilliant. Let them rest up, because yes, there'll be bigger games ahead for Egypt and certainly for Liverpool as well. Then we went into speaking from the press conference and some of the things that the gaffer said today. So here's Arne Slot speaking on Conor Bradley. He said he's got a bright future, a very good player. That is what we need here. He's done last season really well when he replaced Trent. Trent has played a lot, but Conor is a good player, and normally they find their way into the team. I expect that in the future of this club. Add to that, Arne Slot speaking a little bit about Virgil van Dijk and the criticism that he and his fellow Dutch players have often came in for in Dutch media. Said, he's been crucial for us from what you guys see on the pitch. We all see how good he is still and how much he contributes to our offensive style. What you guys don't see, and I do, is how important he is to the sessions. He's loud, brings quality to it. What you see at the weekend, I see in the week, and that is what you want to see. He's definitely our leader. He goes on to say, if you are not from Holland, the criticism might be a surprise, but in Holland, the Dutch media is all about that. I exaggerate a bit, but if there is a chance to criticise, Dutch people in general will find a way to do it. Virgil didn't deserve this, but it's no surprise. It's a surprise to hear criticism of Virgil because it is normal you have a few days off when possible. Some Dutch players didn't join because they were tired, so how can you criticise Van Dijk? Exactly. He was sent off and he wasn't able to play the second game. I'm sure he would have happily played against Germany, but he wasn't available, so it made sense for him to get a little breather. Then it was a little bit of conversation from Arne around Trent Alexander-Arnold, and this is what he had to say. I don't know how he started this, but he said why he played well at left back. I only saw the free kick. Good players will always find a way if they have good teammates in the team, which is what Trent has at England. If you play Finland and Greece with respect, these quality players will play well, although they lost to Greece. He's been very good for us until now. He was and still is an important player when attacking, and I like the way he's defended too. He's made a step up in that perspective, but like all the others, room for improvement, that is clear. I think he's done well for us this season and the national team too. 3 times from 4 man of the match. Let's hope he will be with us too. So then we went on to speak about, to me, probably the biggest worrying development of today, or the biggest worrying news story that I've seen out there. It comes in from Le Parisien, and of course they would be very pro PSG, a Paris-based newspaper or outlet. I expect that. But this piece here said Luis Enrique has reportedly signed a contract extension, according to Le Parisien, and has made it clear to the club that bringing in Mohamed Salah is his top priority. Since losing Kylian Mbappe in the summer to Real Madrid, his side has been lacking in goal threats, and Salah, who has found the net 217 times in 359 games, would certainly solve that issue. So, yeah, that has me worried for many reasons. We've known about his friendship with the president of PSG. We've seen the photos of them together having lunch before. And as this piece said, they have a space for a superstar, a goal scorer, and they certainly have the money to make it possible. But what I would say for Mo is, if you're looking at it from a point of view of achieving stuff with his career, yes, you will most likely win a French title if you go and play for PSG. But, it's pretty much a 1 or 2 team league. Let's be fair about that. Are you going to win a European Cup there? No, you're not. Not now. Not after they've gotten rid of a lot of the great talent out of that club. I think he's got a better chance of doing that with Liverpool. He's settled at Liverpool. The team knows what he can do at Liverpool. The fans idolise him at Liverpool. He's got record still to break at Liverpool to even further cement his place as an icon, a legend of the football club. So, it'll be interesting to hear. It doesn't feel like he wants a new experience. It doesn't feel like he wants a new chapter. A lot of the talk has been that, he's pushing it back to the club to say, come talk to me, make me the offer. So, look, I'm concerned about that one because I've always felt like I don't think Liverpool are going to break the bank to keep Mo because of the Edward influence. That's just my take on it. Also, there was a little bit today, Liverpool being linked with a player from... Where's this guy gone? Where's this article gone? Sorry, there was Liverpool linked with a player from... Here we go. Liverpool linked with new Angel Di Maria, according to this piece. Said Liverpool's search for future stars may lead them to Argentina's Vélez Sarsfields, where 20-year-old Julian Fernandez has been making waves. Dubbed the new Angel Di Maria, Fernandez has piqued the interest of Liverpool's scouting department, who have already drawn comparisons between him and the iconic Argentine winger. According to TBR Football, several Premier League clubs have shown interest in Fernandez, but it is reportedly a dream to play at Anfield that has caught Liverpool fans' attention. Again, good. I'm glad we're scouting South America, but we don't really bring players over there, do we? Or we haven't done in recent times, outside of De Sousa, who never even really got to play for Liverpool, was just farmed around Europe on loan after loan. So I don't know anything about the kid either, so I'm sure there are probably people in the chat who've watched a little bit of Julian Fernandez, but for me, lads, I've got nothing to add to this one. Lorcan said, do you think that Jurgen kind of saw this coming and made Trent vice-captain, trying to make further contract negotiations in the future easier because Real Madrid were a threat for a couple of years now? Maybe, but also, even when Jurgen was at the club, I was still talking about the fact that we should have been extending the contract at that point. To let this get past 18 months, I think, is very foolish. Now, the announcement from Jurgen Klopp, I also feel, will have most certainly had an impact on Trent's thought process. Understandably, Jurgen was a huge influence on Trent's development, on his career, and of course on his success with Liverpool. And for him to go, you could see it written all over Trent's face that it was a big thing for him, and understandable. Big influence on his career, no issues with that. But then the question came of, was this going to be the catalyst for a few players to maybe look for a new chapter in their career? And as of now, we've seen Kwanzaa sign on with Liverpool for a new deal. Brilliant. We've seen Trainioni sign his first professional contract with Liverpool. Brilliant. It looks like, by all accounts, we're getting close to an announcement on Ibrahim Konate on an extension. Brilliant. But those three really key pivotal figures that have been a big part of the success of the club, nothing on these. And again, I think it's fair as us as fans to ask, well, it's all very well and good getting the other contracts done, but that's surely taken time away from these ones that we're all on tenterhooks trying to figure out what's going to happen. Jobo said there was more to Trent's tears in that moment. Again, hard to say. Understandable how you would feel that way or think that way, and I don't know how I feel about it, but all I will say is I definitely feel like that was a big thing for Kloppo to leave. I felt like for a lot of the players that would have been a big thing. I don't know. Look, for Real Madrid, this is opportunistic as well, and that's what I would be saying here if I was Liverpool to Trent. Real Madrid didn't seem to want you when you would have cost 100 million, but now the contract situation has come up. Real Madrid are suddenly interested. As I've said many times during this whole thing, losing Trent for a big truckload of cash is one thing. Still not great, but at least it would give you some belief that maybe we could go out there and spend and try and replicate some of what Trent can do. But watching him sail off into the sunset on a free would be devastating, because I don't trust FSG to replace him adequately. I don't. Danny, thank you for gifting 5 memberships, mate. Very kind of you. Bruno said, if they don't extend Trent's contract, there will be blood on FSG's hands. Well, okay. I know what you're trying to say there, but of course we're not going to talk about blood anywhere. But, look, I've spoken to a lot of people who have been very measured about the owners and very respectful of the owners. Certainly far more so than I have been at times. And whether it's journalists, fellow content creators, my friends who are Liverpool fans, I've yet to find anybody who doesn't think that if Trent doesn't extend, that there won't be a backlash towards the owners about it. You know, a lot of people saying certainly they won't hold it against Trent, and of course, I get that as well. But the owners allowing this to happen, it's criminal. It is absolutely unforgivable. And even if he extends, I still find it unforgivable that we're in this position with a 26-year-old local boy who's dreamt about captaining the club, and we have let this giant elephant in the corner of the room in Real Madrid slowly walk closer and closer and closer towards us. You know, it's not great, is it? And then, of course, the international breaks don't help either, because that gives Trent time away from his Liverpool teammates, where Bellingham and others can get in his ear, and the media can do their thing, and the Madrid-friendly puppets can do their thing, and the charm offensive begins. The stories start coming out about, well, he's already informed Liverpool he's leaving, and the narrative starts to be built. We start to build a fucking narrative, is what I would say here to FSG. Where's the narrative from our side? Sometimes you gotta shithouse a bit. I know we're supposed to be all prim, proper, and shit doesn't stink and all, but let's wrestle the narrative back here in this conversation. Marcus, how are you, bro? Said, I came too late again, always. How are you? I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm a little bit concerned about the situation with Trent and Mo, but I'm buzzing for the football to be back at the weekend. And on that, let's have a conversation about the game against Chelsea coming up this weekend. So my preview went out earlier on today. If you haven't seen it, I'll quickly run through my predicted 11 for you. I went for Kelleher in goal, Trent and Robbo in the full-back positions, Canade and Virgil at centre-back. I'm being optimistic and still believing we'll see Grafenberg, McAllister and Szoboszlai, but of course, if we don't see McAllister, you'll probably see Curtis Jones in there, because at this moment, Wataru Endo is ill. Then up front, I went for Gakpo on the left. Not because I think Diaz hasn't been really good, just I think Gakpo might be a bit fresher and would have done less travelling. On the right-hand side, obviously Mohamed Salah, and then through the centre, I went for Diogo Jota. Score-wise, I've gone for 3-1 to Liverpool. I was watching or reading on Sky, actually, Jones Knows, who does all his predictions and gives his betting tips every weekend. He reckons this is going to be 0-0. And obviously, you look back to recent history of games, especially in League Cup finals, and you can understand where he's coming from. But I don't know, maybe I'm being naive here, but I expect goals in this game at the weekend. And I think we can press them and force them into errors if they persist in playing out from the back. So I'm not going to agree with the 0-0. I'm going to go 3-1 to us. He also predicted, by the way, I'm almost certain he's predicted Man United to lose and Arsenal to lose. No, Man United and actually, do you know what? I'm just going to read you out his predictions. That'll make this easier, won't it? 1 second. We'll get to Jones Knows and his predictions here. Right. Yeah, so he is. He's back in City to lose, which I found mad when I read it. So this is what he said around the game with Man City and Wolves. He said, I'm convinced performances are waning and other factors like Pep Guardiola's future and the charges over alleged breaches of the league's financial rules are going to have a short-term effect on their ability to win football matches. Brentford, Arsenal, Newcastle and Fulham have all wobbled recently, showcasing the blueprint on how to expose them in transition. Of course, it's very hard to make a case for Wolves much because of their woeful performances since March, taking 6 points from their last 17. But he said everything has its price. So he's gone for a 2-1 prediction for Wolves to beat Manchester City. I don't see that personally. I do agree with him on the impact that these charges, Guardiola's situation, will have on City. I think it is going to cause them problems. On Manchester United, when he went for a 2-1 loss, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, 2-1 loss. He gone Brentford to beat United 2-1. Lorcan said, if Trent was to go to Real Madrid, or to go Real Madrid was to buy Trent, would he be a backup for Carvajal? Well, Carvajal's out for the guts of the season, if not the whole season now. He is signing an extension to keep him there for one more year, but it is ripe for Trent to walk in there and feel like he can be the starting right back. I don't see a situation, unless something drastic happens, and even then I can't see Liverpool selling him in January. I just can't. Unless it got to the situation where it became very toxic. You know, let's say, and again, this is all conjecture, but let's say we found out in 2 weeks' time that Trent made his decision and he wants to go to Madrid, and Liverpool fans don't take it well, and the manager doesn't feel like he can play him because of all the toll that it's taken, and Bradley's playing. I don't know. You know, I'd like to think there isn't a world where Liverpool would sell him in January, but Real Madrid also have a need for a right back, so I'm hoping we get an extension, but I can't lie, I'm nervous. Is Chiesa back? No, not fully that I'm aware of, because he wasn't training with the first team today out on the pitch. He was doing some gym work. And honestly, it seems like there's still a little bit of uncertainty around this injury or this niggle. Speaking with David on the channel yesterday, it felt like he was close to the Crystal Palace game before the international break. So I don't know how we'd have gotten from being close there to being further away now. So I'm hoping he's just doing a tailored program in the gym and he will be available for selection. I mean, he couldn't be too far away. Let's just say NFO, I'm going to say the account name. No transfers in the summer, 2 months after the window closed, still no contracts announced. Fans need to start making a stand now, starting Sunday. They're taking us for mugs now. Well, we did make signings in the summer, but I still stand over your point. We didn't make the signings we needed in the summer. We did make a midfield signing and a centre-back signing. So yeah, I agree. And look, I've said the same phrase over and over again. Cheap. That's what I think of FSG. Cheap. Rachel said, for some reason, I'm not nervous about Trent. I hope you're right, Rachel. You know what? I really do, mate. I hope I come on here in whatever, a week, a day, a month's time and think, whew, well, that's a relief. But you know what? If the play here, and again, I'm being sceptical, if the play here for the owners is to gloss up these contract extensions, to think that we're going to forget about signings, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. We've been fooled by that before, with Hendo extensions and others. We need to get the players we need to get, and if these boys can extend, brilliant, but not at the expense of spending money again. Oxysot said, I fear Chiesa will be the new Arthur Melo. I think we have to be honest about this and think there was certainly a risk factor involved in the Federico Chiesa transfer. We knew that he had a sketchy record of injuries, and we knew that he wasn't up to full fitness and that he was still working his way back. And I think you got to factor that into the price tag as well. So I'm okay with the stop-start nature of Chiesa because of, I guess, my mindset when we bought him was expecting that we're going to have times like this where maybe he wasn't going to be available. Obviously, I'm hopeful and optimistic that we can put some of those injuries behind him and the medical team, the sports science team can get him back. Even playing one game a week would be great. So, yeah, let's wait and see. But I do think we got to be fair about this and say that was probably reflected in the price as well. Would I take Saudi owners in the morning? So, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to explain why. Again, my issue is not with anyone's nationality, their religion. My issue is very simple. I don't want any state-backed entities or sovereign funds or any country owning or having any interference in club football. So no, I absolutely would not. Now, if there was somebody in the world with their own money or their own financing that had nothing to do with any state, I don't care where they're from. If they want to make a play to buy the club and they want to do things to make the club better, we'll visit that and we'll talk about that and we'll see what the project looks like. But I cannot and I will not ever want state ownership of our football club or of any football club. For the simple reason, like I've said all along, there's no jeopardy. You cannot compete against a country's wealth. You can't. No business person or investment fund can go up against the country because they can afford to piss money away and lose it forever if that's not the aim. If the aim is to improve the country's appearance on the world stage or anything like that, you can't do it. It's not fair. Like imagine King Charles decided he was buying the LA Raiders, and he went over there and he bought the Raiders, and somehow it was approved by the NFL, and then he said that he was putting the full weight of the royal family and their finances and their land ownership and all the money that comes with that behind the Raiders. You know, I think you'd probably go, whoa, hang on a minute here. This isn't fair, right? And of course, I know the NFL has built-in caps and stuff, so it's different. You don't have that ability to just go in and piss money away. But that's where football is a problem, is that we do have this ability because we've not yet really seen any PSR or FFP enforcement that we would feel has done anything to stop this. You know, there's always a slap on the wrist, and then the Court of Arbitration for Sport overrules something and waters down something. And so, yeah, I just feel that once we let state ownership into the Premier League, it was a big mistake. And into football in general, big mistake. Nazar Hussein said, the Trent situation just shows how special players like Stevie G and Carroll were. Yeah, absolutely. But look, let's remember, Stevie came close to going to Chelsea at that point, but thankfully, you know, the situation turned itself around and Stevie stayed. But yeah, look, and maybe football isn't going to see one club men as much anymore because of the finances and maybe players wanting different challenges at different points in their career as well. So I've always tried to be fair on this. I don't really have any anger towards any of the players here. I don't have any anger towards Mohamed Salah or Trent or Virgil. My anger, my frustration is squarely aimed at the club because they allowed this situation to develop. Players will look after number one. Players will do what's best for their careers, their legacy, their families. And these guys, and I can't say this strongly enough, will have fulfilled their contract obligations that they signed on for. And that's all you can expect of any man or woman in employment in any part of the world is you sign up for a contract, you see out your contract, you've done what you promised to do. So it's the club that I'm annoyed at and not so much the players. Rachel said Liverpool needs to be sold by a Liverpool fan that is a multimillionaire. Or sold to a Liverpool fan, I think you meant. Yeah, I think the days though, Rachel, of local man or woman done good buys football club, you know, when you're talking about valuations here in the 4 or 5 billion, those days are gone. Unless they're, I guess, fronting some type of investment group or something or wealth management fund. That's probably the only chances. Like, I'd like somebody like Steve Ballmer, as an example. The guy who used to be at Microsoft, and I think he owns the Clippers or something in the NBA. But he's living that life of wanting them to be successful. And he's a character. And I would like an owner like that. Not an absent owner who has fingers in many pies and all different things and purely just does look at us as an investment. Again, this is utopian stuff, right? This is us living in a dream world where we have the best owners we could possibly have, somebody who lives and breathes the football club like we do. But in the absence of that, I still want somebody a bit more present than John and Tom and the rest of FSG who saunter over once or twice a year, and I've just never been able to really take to them. Mark Bell said, honestly, if Trent leaves on a free to Madrid, for me, he won't mean anything to Liverpool fans anymore. So I think that's a personal choice, Mark, for each Liverpool fan to decide upon themselves. I wouldn't be looking at Trent as a legend, but I certainly wouldn't be putting him in the same camp as I would Michael Owen or others who have found a way out. I would just think it's a huge shame more than anything. It's just a shame that we let it get here. It's a shame that we couldn't match his ambition, or, you know, that's the part here for me as well. The word ambition, I think we need to talk about a little bit more. Because what is the ambition of our owners? Truly. Is it to win? Because if it's to win, I don't see the backing of the manager enough. I don't see enough spent on transfers to really talk about winning consistently. We haven't built on success we've had. We haven't gone out there and assembled a squad that is going to dominate for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, which is very hard to do. But when you've gotten to the top of the mountain, you want to stay there. And we've had some fluctuations up and down. We've taken some risks going into seasons with a lack of squad depth, or hoping for the best on injuries when we have a history of the way that we play and the style that we play causing injuries. And I think there's just been a lot of fingers crossed and hoping for the best stuff on top of what we have seen. And it's not, to me, showing an ownership structure that wants to win. Because if they're that clever and that brilliant, again, explain to me how we're here. Explain to me the rationale with this situation that we're faced in right now, with 3 massive contracts, 3 transfer fees potentially, all out the window. And then we're going to have to believe in these owners to go out there and spend the money to replace this talent. I don't think they will. I think they'll replace one player and then they'll go cheap for the rest, as they always seem to do. MJ said, I think Chiesa could be our new Shaqiri. Yeah, I think it's fair to say you've got concerns over Chiesa. I mean, I think most of us would be rational enough to understand that. You know, but again, I would say at the price tag we got him for, I was kind of expecting this. Craig, if Salah leaves, he's left a Liverpool legacy and it won't be tarnished, but it'll be very sad to see Mo go. Yes, for me, Mo's done. Established. There is no sullying Mohamed Salah's reputation at Liverpool for me. He has come, delivered, done it, given the peak of his career to the club, and will leave, if he does, whenever that day may be, a hero, a legend, an icon, and deservedly put in the conversation with Liverpool greats of the past. No argument for me on that one. And again, I come back to prime years there. That's important in this conversation, because giving your best years, your peak years, to a club, that connects you. That gives you that bond with that player known. They were here for the best years of their career. Virgil was here, best years of his career. Stevie G, best years of his career. Cara, best years of his career. Trent, great years in his career, but not yet the best, because he's only coming into his peak now. So yeah, Mo, I would definitely say icon, legend, no doubt. What about Mark Cuban? The Mavs owner. Yeah, I like Mark Cuban. He's I like people like Mark Cuban who are outspoken, straight talkers. I could get on board with Mark Cuban, mate. We have the best defensive stats in the league at the minute. We'll be fine. We do, yeah. But we will also, I think, Brett, if we're to acknowledge that, which, you know, I'm happy to do, we also have to acknowledge that we've had the easiest start in the Premier League of any of the clubs. And that's not me just making that up. That was research from The Athletic before the season started, that we did have the handiest opening 5 or 6 games or so of the Premier League. So bigger tests to come. But look, yeah, you're not going to be displeased, are you, with 9 wins out of 10 and I think conceding 3 goals. So yeah, definitely we've had a good start in that regard. But we've also had some good saves from our goalkeepers. Offside has helped us out with some close calls on a few occasions. But yeah, definitely a lot to build on and a lot to be optimistic about. What's happening with Maka and Chiesa? So they were both training in the gym today, doing, I think, personalised work. We don't know why. We don't know if it's part of a recovery to get them ready for the game, or if it's part of looking at a recovery from a knock or something. That we're not sure of at the minute, mate, to be honest. Have Chelsea got any injury concerns for Sunday? No. I think I read somewhere it's almost, if not one of the first times Maresca's had a full group to choose from. Even Reece James is back in contention. Hasn't played, I think, for a year, or a long time anyway, a good while. So no, they don't really have any injury concerns. Darren Beard said, I don't buy all the ambition 100%. We have been in a position to win in finals and the league when the players, including Trent, didn't get it over the line. He knows he's in line for the captaincy. So look, again, if we're to be adults in the conversation, Darren, you know, one side is going to have to project one narrative, isn't it? Like, he's not going to say, oh yeah, I'm leaving because it's Madrid. I want to go play with me mates. And I'm sure I've been at Liverpool a while. You're right. If you're in that side of that narrative, you're going to be saying, I don't feel that the club were matching my ambitions, and you know, I don't want to have any regrets in my career, and I don't want to look back, yada yada. That's his job and his representative's job to do, which is why I'm again making that call to our club to start managing this narrative. You know, don't let Real Madrid get out and get ahead. You know, let us manage the narrative and let us talk about what we're looking to do, going to do, hoping to do, and build some positivity. USA Copite said, Gary Neville was on the USA Network, not Sky for one, saying Liverpool deserve to be top and have been tested. It's not false for us to be there. Well, look, United was probably our most difficult game on paper. Dealt with them quite well. You know, if we beat Chelsea, I think nobody can say we haven't had a test there because they're in great form coming into the game. And then, of course, we've got some big games coming up in the Champions League as well. A trip over to Leipzig. Then we've got Madrid, Leverkusen, Arsenal, Brighton twice, once in the league, once in the League Cup. Man City coming up as well. Fofana and Cucurella are suspended for 5 yellows. Yep, but that's not injury concerns though. But you are right, mate. You are right, Nazar. They are both out with suspensions. What else have we got? Are FSG even listening to the fan base and managers what they need? It's like the manager is saying we need a midfielder, but FSG say have a winger. Look, they did try to get a midfielder in the summer. But, you know, we tried to sign Caicedo. We tried to sign Lavia. We tried to sign Tchouaméni. We tried to sign Zubamendi. You know, we can all try. Getting shit done is what we need to do. Devon said, came in late and I feel I must congratulate you on your take about the Trent situation. At the beginning of the stream, you've expressed my feelings perfectly. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Look, I'm trying to be as grown up as I can about all of this because, of course, I have my own feelings about this as well. And I'm trying to refrain from having any criticisms of the players because I don't know what they're thinking. My criticisms, I've tried to be consistent on this, have always been aimed at why we're here. Why the club have let it get to this point. That's what I think is fair of me to say. If any player doesn't want to sign, then sell them to the highest bidder in January. So, answer me this question, right? You're Trent, or Virgil, or Mo, and you've already decided that you don't want to stay at Liverpool. And you know that you've got a 25 million quid signing on bonus coming next summer. Are you going to sign a deal in January that sees you leave the club and not get that 25 million quid? You're not. Nobody is. They're unsellable in January unless Madrid comes in with an offer wanting Trent right now because they need Carvajal replaced, and maybe Liverpool feel that the backlash from the fan base over the whole situation would cause the club a headache moving throughout the rest of the season. But again, this is all guessing because we don't know that yet. By the way, do hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. Really appreciate your support on this one. Carl Heffo said, I think Trent decided to leave once Jurgen left. I think it certainly didn't do the situation any good. I will say that, mate. I don't know if he made that decision or not, but I would be a liar if I said it wouldn't have impacted Trent, or he wouldn't miss Jurgen. Of course he would. We all do, let's be honest. as much. Sorry, I say that like I love Arne Slot as well, and I'm really happy Arne Slot's here. But you know, Kloppo, it was a big part of all of our lives for the last 9 years. Pro said, I have a sneaky feeling the Chelsea game will be more difficult than the Arsenal game, but I think we'll win both. Yeah, I'm not expecting to get anything at the Emirates from the officials. I'm just expecting that one to be. I think the best to be a draw to get out of there. My cynical side says it's tinfoil hat stuff, and I don't even want to say it out loud, but I don't think we're leaving the Emirates with a win, come hell or high water, regardless of how we play. That's how I feel. You should start streaming FC25. I tried it before, and I just get angry. I feel the game's all scripted and bullshit, and it's not my cup of tea. I have enough stuff to be getting angry at in life without throwing in computer games on top of it. Sinistera, a good choice to replace Salah. I think there's better options. I mean, Rodrigo I wouldn't say no to. Mo Kudus I wouldn't say no to. Nico Williams I wouldn't say no to, although again very, very unlikely. So yeah, there are options out there, but do we believe that the owners are going to pony up the dough to replace any of these guys adequately? I've got my doubts. How likely do you think is Trent extending his contract? I'm kind of where I was yesterday, give or take. I mean, yesterday I was 55-45 in favour of him. I'm probably 50-50 at the minute. Because I haven't yet had any confirmation, one way or the other, from people that I trust on which way that situation's leaning. And that's why I would urge these people on social media with their cryptic half posts to say, look, if you know something, share it. Tell the fan base. Be honest about it. Say, look, don't take this for gospel, but I was told X, Y, or Z. It's these cryptic one word or vague sentences that I just don't think helps anyone. It just adds to the conjecture and I guess divisiveness as well. And again, it probably leads to the players getting some abuse that they probably don't deserve. Who's a perfect Salah replacement? We were talking about this yesterday. We ran a poll on a few options. Rodrigo was the one that most voted on. But I would say I'd like Kudus because of the style of play, Premier League tested, energy levels are great, can score different types of goals. So yeah, I would happily have Kudus or Rodrigo, mate, any of them. But I wouldn't expect them to do Salah numbers because Salah's a unicorn. You know, you're not going to get a player like him strolling around the corner anytime soon. You know, what he's done at Liverpool is remarkable. Rodrigo, a natural left winger. Well, do you want to have a look at where he's been playing for Real Madrid for the last year and a half or so, mate? It's more often off the right hand side. Would you rather have a left-footed right winger? Look, I'm not arsed about inverted wingers. Honestly, I think wingers should be able to do everything. Go around the outside, come on the inside. I want somebody who excites us, you know. I like a winger who just runs at people. You know, Luis Diaz gliding past players is fun to watch at times. Sadio Mane doing it was fun. Mo doing it in the past was fun. You want somebody who's going to scare the shit out of a fullback and turn them inside out. Jonathan said, I want to win the lottery so I can sponsor Anfield Agenda to a whole season at Liverpool games. Oh, dude, yes, please, yeah. You win the lotto, get us a corporate box. Be amazing. Do watchalongs from inside the corporate box in the stadium for the season. That would be class. With the stadium noise behind me. Oh, that'd be amazing. Christoph Dugarry said, I'm available. Too easy. With all due respect, Mr. Dugarry, great player in your day, bro, but I think maybe your peak is behind you a little bit. Even Bradley can guide pass on the right nicely. Yes. Yeah, Bradley's somebody made a good shout earlier on. He kind of feels like a right-sided Andy Robertson. The peak, prime, younger Andy Robertson days. Once he said that earlier on the stream, I can't get that out of my head. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say good night to you because it's Friday night and I'm sure you've all got better things to be doing. I will see you tomorrow where I will be live at 8:45, so hope to catch you on that. And then, of course, the watch-along starting from 3:15, so 3:15 on Sunday. We'll be live for the watch-along. A great game to welcome the lads back after the international break, taking on Chelsea. John Brooks, I believe, is the referee for the game as well. So, yeah, and again, thank you to Manscaped, who we've just agreed an extension with as well, up until February time. So we've agreed a record deal with Manscaped for the channel, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without your support as well. So, yes, thank you for all that you do, guys. Appreciate you. Do drop a like for me before you head off, if you'd be so kind, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Much love. Bye.